Welcome to the Daily Edge. I'm Marc Nudelberg, and today we have a former Top Gun pilot, former CEO of Tropic Ocean Airways, current board member, current speaker, and investor, Rob Ceravolo. Nailed it. Let's find our edge. Let's find our edge. That starts with our affirmation. I am the pilot of my life, regardless of the circumstances I find myself in. I have the tools and skills to find clear skies, make unexpected landings, and continue my journey through life. Rob, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Mark.
I'm so glad.
I'm psyched, man.
I'm so glad to have you. And I know I asked you, how corny is that affirmation?
Pretty corny. No, but I love it. I love it.
And you said, so this is a good place for us to start the conversation because former Top Gun pilot, right? Business executive, transitioned again from being the CEO and working on it to being a board member. And you were like, I tried to get away from the pilot thing, but it's your identity. So how does that manifest through all these years?
Yeah, it's wild because, identity for me has been something I've been trying to figure out and understand, right? So I got out of the Navy and I started this business. I actually started when I was in the Navy, but regardless. And for so many years.
Well, hold on. Don't just skip past that for a second.
Yeah,
I was because that's unbelievable that you started. I didn't know you started the business while you were in the Navy.
Yeah. I was, it was so funny. In 2000, I always wanted to start this business. And that's the whole reason of why I got in the Navy, by the way. It was because of my dad. My dad was an Italian immigrant, came over from Italy. He was a teenager during World War II. Okay. So the American military liberated his town.
Wow.
So I was brought up watching all these old war movies. Bridges to Tokyo-ri and Chucky. And then, by the way, I was going to be an Air Force pilot. And then this little movie called Top Gun came out when I was 11. I was like, wait, I get to ride motorcycles and date my instructor? Yeah. It's the coolest shit ever. So all I want to do. But then I was going to start a business like this when I retired, right around now. And I decided in 2009 to start it then. So I actually found it when I was in the Navy. Yeah. Okay,
so let's go back to the identity conversation for a minute because we're gonna bounce all over the place.
I get out of the Navy, and for so many years I was Rocco. That was my call sign. Rocco the fighter pilot, right? I was a fighter pilot. I was, flew the F-14, flew the F-18, deployed to Iraq, doing all these things.
Wow.
And it was really, to this day, it's hard for me to still let that go because you have this idea ever since you're a kid of this is going to be my identity. This is who I am. I'm going to be a fighter pilot. And then you get out. And I'm like, what am I?
Well, so I have an interesting take on that because when I left my college football career, I had a similar crisis internally, right? And my take on that was because it's all you spend your time doing.
That's it.
You say you have a family, but you don't really have a family. You do, but you're not spending a lot of time with them.
You live, eat, breathe it.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That is your identity. I was a ball coach. Everything I did revolved around being a ball coach, whether it was game planning, whether it was recruiting, whether it was actually coaching our players, game days, whatever it was all about that. So when you exit that and it's all I know for me, I had a breaking point where I was I don't know who to be or what to do or how to do this anymore. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I think, I still struggle with it to this day. And we were talking about that a little bit earlier. It's interesting. There's this idea, of PTSD being things that military guys saw.
Right.
It's really when you try to integrate back into society and you lose that identity and lose the community around you that understands you.
Right.
And that's always a challenge.
Yeah.
But, we were talking about this earlier. What I've done is I've tried to take the best lessons from that and apply it to the next chapter, which was Tropic Ocean Airways, And then now stepping down as I've been CEO of Tropic Ocean Airways for 16 years.
Right.
Now I'm like, what am I? I'm not a fighter pilot. I'm not a CEO. You said it I'm an investor, a board member, and a speaker. I'm like, okay.
Right. Okay. What is that?
One phrase for that, by the way? Because I don't know. So it's an interesting thing. And we tend to lean on identity in life, right? We all look for it and we strive for it. And then when you step away from it, Like, I think we go through this transitory period where, I think it's good for us to remove the idea of an identity and say, okay, like who am I as a person? I am not the fighter pilot. I'm not the CEO.
Right.
Right. Those are
just things you do.
Things we do. Right.
Right.
But who I am is how I approach those things.
All right, so let's have a deep conversation. So who are you then? Let's solve this problem right here on the Daily Edge. Who are you? Because you were telling great stories about playing video games with your nephews.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you're an uncle for sure.
I'm a cool uncle.
What are the things you're passionate about?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, no, look, I mean, it's funny as I've been, your brother told me to post something, and I haven't posted it yet, about what I'm going to do next, right?
Right.
And I was thinking about it. Mm-hmm. And I think the best way I could describe kind of what I want to do or who I am, I need to do something that has purpose in it. I need to do something that creates value. And I need to do something I'm going to enjoy. So
purpose, value, and enjoyment. That's like 3 core pillars.
Right. And I think who I am, I'm someone who's, I'm someone who likes to create value for people. Yeah. I really do. I mean, when you think about the Navy was service to the country and service to the people around you, Tropic Ocean Airways provided services across the board, whether it was flying, wealthy people to their islands or rescuing people off beaches.
So I want to dive into that for a second because you don't hear a lot of stories about successful or people who think like entrepreneurs inside of the military, because they kind of conflict with each other, at least in my perspective. Like, I was never a really good supporting assistant coach,
right?
Because I thought like an entrepreneur, and I was like, this is dumb. I don't know why we're doing things this way. Like, why don't we do it this way? And like, I was always that guy who had ideas and wanted to implement ideas. Didn't go so well with a lot of the head coaches I worked with. So what was that like for you? How did that entrepreneurial brain happen for you? And how did you manage that inside of a very disciplined, very structured military environment?
Well, I tried to grow my hair out a little bit. That was against the standards. That was my rebellion. But the reality of it is the best units in the military, you actually have a lot of autonomy, more so than you think.
Okay.
So think about running a good business or coaching football, right? You're not on the field with those guys.
Bingo.
Right? You prep them, you train them, and then you let them go. And sometimes they're going to have to adapt to the situation on the field.
We used to call that capacity, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're trying to build capacity for players to be able to make those decisions.
Right.
If you did a good job as a coach, they were able to adapt.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when we launched off the ship, we'd do a 7-hour mission over Iraq. You didn't have some commander with you.
Right.
You're by yourself for 7 hours in a jet with some guy in the back seat or girl in the back seat, and you're constantly adapting to the situation. They teach the OODA loop and everything else. So surprisingly, it's very entrepreneurial. Some of those units, I think Navy SEALs are the same way. I mean, any good unit, any good commander in the military is going to run his or her unit that way.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So I felt like, I had the ability to be an entrepreneur.
So where did the idea for Tropic Ocean Airways come from then? You had said, I had always had this idea for this business. Yeah. Why? Where did that come from?
So it's funny. So majority of the guys and girls I flew with in the Navy, they get out, they become airline pilots, right?
Right.
So think about what I just told you. I mean, these are the by the way, these are the smartest men and women.
Elite of the elite.
Elite of the elite, right?
That's like telling me that like the Tom Brady went to go play quarterback for like the rec league in Tampa when he was done, right?
He's not even playing quarterback. He's like playing foosball. Right. You know what I mean? Like it's not even playing football anymore, right?
Right.
So these guys and girls, I mean, look, it's a great job. It's a lot of money, and they work very little.
Yeah.
But I call it the airline lobotomy. I mean, like, and they're all my friends. I'm like, you guys are like so much better. But it's an easy job, right? And a lot of them, look, I've served the military. I've been away from my family for 20 years. I don't want to go work hard. I don't want to launch a business or whatever. And I get it. I respect it.
Sure.
But I've always had a hard time with that because, the idea of, again, like applying what we've learned in the military and you apply that to business, you can be very successful, or just life in general. Mm-hmm. And I think there should be more of that out there. I think vets, if you look at the Afghanistan and Iraq wars, 20-something years we've been at war, right?
Sure.
Up until just a couple of years ago, so many of those men and women that got out started businesses.
Right.
A lot of them went public, like Black Rifle Coffee.
Right.
Right.
So,
it's really interesting.
So people don't know anything about the military. Say people have absolutely no concept of what you learn.
Yeah.
Why have those people been so successful in building businesses? What are those transferable skills?
It's actually a great question. I mean, if you go all the way back to, I went through what's called officer candidate school. So it's like boot camp for officers. You know, you have the Marine Corps drill instructor that kind of, you know, tears up your locker, the whole thing, right? They call it hazing. It's not hazing, it's training. And I'll give you a couple of examples, right? So one of them is we had to do these inspections where you had to fold your underwear and shirts and everything else. And the underwear has to be exactly like 6 inches by 6 inches. And they bring a ruler, right? So we're up all night long. So like 4 a.m, like folding exactly. and folding and measuring, and you're putting tape on it and you're ironing it to like press it down just to make sure, because then the humidity causes it to expand. It's like one hair. And the guys show up and they tear it apart, you know, and they tear up everyone's locker, and you're like, fuck. But what did you learn, right? Attention to detail. So think about applying that to business. Sure. You need attention to detail in business. Yep. So you've taught that from day one. Another one, which I brought to Tropic Ocean, which to this day, 16 years later, is still very difficult for some civilian employees to embrace, is the art of the debrief. Right? So good. I know you guys watch tapes, right? I mean, you're a football coach. It's no brainer, right? So,
and nobody's doing it.
Nobody's doing it.
Nobody in business is doing and even the people that say they're doing a debrief, they're not actually doing it.
No, they're not.
It's one person that just talks for the whole meeting, and then everybody just sits there and they go, "Is the meeting over yet?" And then they leave. Yeah. There was no feedback loop. There was no and I'm just like,
what are the lessons learned? What did we learn? You know,
right? So and the engagement, right? Like it can't strictly be from my perspective. Yeah. It's got to be from everybody involved, saying, "Hey, here's what we saw. Here's what we did,"
and everyone has to feel safe to speak up.
Right.
In the Navy, we said there was no rank in the debrief. You know, so you could be some admiral I just flew with, and I'm like some young junior officer. I'm like, "Hey, sir, you really fucked this one up." He's like, "I know, Rocker." You know what I mean? And it's cool, and it's okay. Right. You know? And that's just because that's how you learn, right? And that's how you know, I mean, we learn from our mistakes.
It's so funny because that environment did not really exist a lot in football, right? Even though there was the debrief, the head coach was still the head coach, and and if he fucked up on Saturday, right, and called a bad timeout, and he didn't own it in front of the group, nobody was going to be like, "Hey, coach, don't you think maybe we should have saved that timeout instead?" Nobody was saying that. Yeah. So it's super cool to hear you say that that's a fundamental of the military, because I think that that's critical for organizations to be successful, and was a part of a lot of the toxic cultures that I was a part of that did not operate the way they should.
Not like placing blame on someone or finding someone to blame for it, right? Right. And the idea is not finding blame. It's not finding who is right or wrong. It's what happened, what worked well, what didn't. Right. I love teaching the you know the shit sandwich, right? It's like,
of course.
Hey, Mark, you're awesome.
I love you.
This up, but you're still awesome, right? I hate that, and I'll tell you why. Right. So if I tell you how awesome you are, and then I tell you, "Hey, look, I want you to learn from this piece," and then at the end I tell you you're awesome again.
I didn't hear anything about what you said.
Right, exactly. So in the Navy, we did goods and others, right? So it was like, this is what worked well, and this is what didn't. And we didn't finish on, but let's go back to what worked well. It's like, this is what worked well. I call it the open-faced shit sandwich. Sure. Right? And this is what didn't. And then here's what our lessons are.
Classic Clint Eastwood movie, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. Yeah. That's the way we reviewed tape as a full team on Sundays. So we would come in from the Saturday night. Here's all the things we did good, right? Highlights. Everybody's like, yeah. Here's all the things we did bad, right? Oh, yeah, the guy's getting called out. Like, oh, that's not so good. Here's the ugly. Here's the shit that we know if we have this show up consistently will get us beat. We may have gotten away with it on this game, but we can't have this happen ever again. And that was the way we structured our meetings. And we coach a lot of people in their businesses to do it that way. Yeah. Good, bad, the ugly. Good, bad, the ugly, right? And similar.
It's hard for people to embrace, right? I think it is. And I see it. I mean, 16 years of running Tropic with all different managers and from all different walks of life. And I mean, from the day I stepped down, it was still a challenge to debrief. I mean, people really have a hard time, I think, embracing it fully.
What do you think the big challenge is there for people?
I think it's because we're brought up in a society. Think about politics, right? So if a politician changes their mind or learns, say, I've learned from my mistake, I'm going to do something different.
Crushed.
Oh my God, you're crushed.
Right. Yeah, right.
You forget about it.
Your identity's gone. You can't be trusted.
You can't be trusted, right? So it's really difficult for people to stand up and say, hey, yeah, actually, I do see your point, and I am going to change the way I'm doing things, right? Yeah. I mean, we tend to protect our egos. And there's something about the military, they just break that ego down.
Well, so I was going to ask you about that, right? Like, does the tearing apart of the locker, does that, like, people call it hazing, but isn't it part of just tearing down the ego and like,
it is, hey, absolutely. You know, I mean, they want everyone on a level playing field. They want to bring you down a little bit. I mean, as a pilot, I was a good pilot, you know, so my dad passed away when I was in flight school in jet training.
Oh, wow.
And I came here, went to his funeral here in Fort Lauderdale, went back, I was rolled back a class. I ended up finishing number 1 in my class, So I was a good pilot. And when I got to my first squadron, I realized just how shitty I was, right? compared to everyone else. And it knocked me down again. And each new squadron would put you through a process where you would get knocked down again a little bit. And then guess what? You'd start at a new baseline.
You see it in sports, right? Like you're the elite athlete in high school, and you're the number 1 ranked running back, and then you show up on Alabama's campus on day 1, and you're like, oh my God, all of these other guys were number 1 ranked in the country, and they've all been here for 4 years, and I'm nowhere near as good as they are. And then you get drafted in the first round, and you show up into the NFL locker room, and you're like, oh my God, these guys are different animals. Like they work differently, they study film differently, and so like you see that all the time in athletics, and part of our mission is to try to create that sort of structure and environment for people in their business, because it's the best. But I got to ask a question, because like you said, like you finished top of your class, and I can only you mentioned Top Gun, the movie. So like when he's like looking at the wall and he's like, I want to know who the best is. Like you were the best. You could answer like me. I'm the best.
No, I was in primary flight training.
Got it.
Yeah. But it was. I was like, but yeah, I mean, like it was. I mean, again, when you think about purpose, right? I mean, one of the reasons I joined the Navy was because of my dad. The way he brought me up, and my mom as well. And then
what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
So number 1, I told you my dad was loved this country.
Loved the country.
And was an immigrant, embraced them and everything else. My mom, they were very religious too, and they were very big on like good and evil, the way I was brought up, right?
Sure.
And they brought me up to be, inquisitive and adventurous. It was funny, by the way. So I'm a very adventurous guy. Like I like to think I ride motorcycles. I jump out of airplanes. I climb Mount Rainier, all this other stuff.
Some would call you an adrenaline junkie.
No, and I'm actually not. I have a fear of heights, like a true story. I'm scared.
That's wild. Fighter pilot that's afraid of heights that also jumps out of planes.
And because my parents like brought me up with these like stories. Like my dad would tell stories of like him growing up in southern Italy where he's like getting chased by wolves and all this other stuff. But he wouldn't let me like ride my bike off the block. Like I was like super. So I think like me doing all those things was probably my rebellion.
A rebellion to being.
But they brought me up to be worldly. I think to really like embrace the idea of, hey, do something bigger than yourself. And I'm very, very fortunate. Yeah. And parents, they have their goods and the others, right? So my dad and mom both had their flaws, and all we could do is learn from the good parts and try to avoid the flaws, right? The others. But I was very fortunate to have them, and they pushed me in that direction.
And so you talked about Top Gun being a defining, like, oh wow, if I could do that, if I could, date my instructor and be the cool guy wearing the fighter jacket and like. But was that why the Navy? Why flight school? Why that?
Yeah. So I mean, the Navy. What got me into the Navy obviously was the movie, and then the more as I got older, the more I learned about it. I love the idea of landing on. I love the water. So landing on boats, deploying off ships. You feel like a pirate. I mean, it's true. Yeah. Like we're on a ship off the coast of some country, and then we like go into the country, do our thing, and then come out. Yeah. You're a pirate. But it was amazing. I mean,
Jack Sparrow,
the Navy, right? Jack Sparrow, bro. You know what I mean, with the hair. But we drank a lot of rum. It's true.
I love it.
But again, I think that what the Navy does, it projects power all over the world, And not only that, the Navy was also, if you think about what we did with Tropic Ocean, when there's a natural disaster somewhere around the world, first ship there is a U.S. Navy ship, And so the Navy is involved all over the world, in rapid response, and everything else. Yeah. And it was really intriguing to me.
So did some of those core values spill over into Tropic? Is 100%.
That... And 100%.
So like, help me understand how you start a business while you're in the military.
Yeah, so I was stationed. I got very fortunate and stationed in Key West was my second to last duty station. So I was flying jets out of Key. I called it the best kept secret in the Navy, by the way. I mean, I was paddleboarding after flying. We're flying
not exactly what we're picturing when we're thinking of like the fighter pilots.
We're working our asses off. We're flying twice a day, and debriefing the whole thing. But like usually on the second flight, you're looking down and you're marking the weed lines on the GPS, so you can go mahi fishing later on. It was
amazing.
Cool. It was cool.
Amazing.
But and I had 2 years left of active duty, so you have to do at least 10 years active when you're a pilot. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, so I could do this. So I started a company, hired a guy who ended up giving equity into the business as well. and his wife moved to Key West. I thought it's 2009, the tail end of a recession.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, and I went to meet with the FAA, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it'll take 90 days to get licensed." You know, I'm like, "Okay, cool." Year and a half. I almost went bankrupt. That's why, we were talking, Shay and I were talking about cars earlier. I had a beautiful 911 Turbo. Sold that because I needed parts for an airplane. So there's no income for 2 years. But yeah, so I got the company kind of launched while I was active duty, but we really didn't start generating revenue until I got out. And I actually became a reservist, a Navy reservist in 2011. So at that point, we got licensed around 2011. We had one little airplane. It was a little 4-seat airplane. We had a credit when I was broke. Yeah. Broke at this point, and we had one credit card that had a $6,000 limit. That was my fuel credit card for the plane. And it's funny as we would fly that airplane everywhere. Someone would say, "Hey, we have a charter in Tampa. Can you do it?" I'm like, "Yes." I'd always say yes. And we would launch this one airplane with the one guy who was my one pilot at the time, and go fly it to the Bahamas, whatever. To the point that you fake it till you make it. Someone once said, "Oh, you guys got a fleet of these things. I see you guys everywhere." I'm like, thank God they're not looking at the tail number, right? And that's how we got launched. And then we ended up adding a second airplane, which is the larger airplane that we fly now.
But hold on, because there's no way you went from being broke to just adding a second airplane. So was there a moment where you were broke and you were having to launch this airplane again that you were like, damn, this isn't working, or this isn't exactly what I thought it was going to be? Like, how did you deal with that adversity and that failure?
So maybe I'm too stupid to see it that way. Like, because at the time, I love the book Obstacles the Way.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's one
Ryan
of my
Holiday crushes it all the time.
I've handed out that book 26 or 27 times to people who are going through a tough time. And so I looked at every single obstacle we ran into at Tropic. I looked at it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to find a way around this. Mm-hmm. And we did, and it was funny. We once we realized like the Bimini to South Florida Bimini run was going to be very lucrative, and we actually run it several times a day today, right? Wow. Within this one little airplane, and we needed to get a bigger airplane. So we're working with one resort, which is the small resort, and the new resort, which is one of our biggest clients now, Resorts World Bimini, hadn't launched yet, and they were going to build this place. And they reached out to me, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to build this resort. We want you to run this Cessna Caravan, which is this 8-seat, $2 million airplane." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, you got it." Yeah. Like, when do you guys open? They're like, September 2013. I'm like, done. And this is like, how, right? I had no airplane. I had no money. Right. So I met this guy, and I'll never say his name, but it's one of these stories where he bought an airplane, a Caravan, and he could not get it licensed by the FAA. So he approached me, and he said, "Hey, can you help me?" I go, "Look, yeah." By the way, I used to be a handshake guy when I say I'm too stupid. In the military, like, everyone has your back. Right. So I thought, it's like, oh, these guys are great.
Everybody's good people.
I'm an oak, man. I'm a man of my word. If this guy shook my hand, Mm-hmm. So this guy buys an airplane. He's like, "Hey, will you help me, get this thing launched?" I'm like, "Sure." So I helped him with his manuals. And I said, "Look, we're going to JV this, and I'll run smaller groups to Bimini, and you'll run the larger groups, and we'll work together." He's like, "Yeah, great." So I helped him get launched. And like 3 weeks later, my friend who's managing a resort over there was like, "Hey, so this guy that's like this bigger airplane was telling me to stop flying with you." I'm like, "What?" So I grabbed my 3 employees at the time. Yeah. I go, "Guys, look, here's what's going on. I want us to just focus on being the best. We have the old 1976 airplane, right? We have one pilot. We can't compete with the product, but we're going to be on time. We're going to be professional. We're going to take good care of the customers." Details. And in 6 months, he went out of business, and the first airplane I ever bought was his airplane.
No way! Oh my God! Yeah, what a moment!
So it was amazing. And Tropic Ocean has many stories like that over the years, where we took some obstacle and turned it into something better for us. Mm-hmm. And one of our core values is find a way. And we have so many examples of find a way. When I stepped down and I gave the speech the other night, it was like just a couple of weeks ago when we had my little retirement party. I had a few cocktails, but and I was talking to them. And when I talked about find a way, everyone cheers because the company embraces that core value, and I love it. We have other core values, we've changed them over the years, but find a way is one of the.
So is your current obstacle separating yourself from? Because you're sort of still because you're on the board, but you're not the CEO anymore. You're not in the foxhole necessarily with them anymore. So is that your current obstacle?
So funny, it's not. I think I'm managing it well. Okay.
Sound like somebody's relapsing.
I know. So I'm in denial, right? No, but it's true. So I got a call yesterday from someone at the company, and they're like, "Oh, here's what's going on." Da, da, da. And I talked for an hour. I'm like, "Well, here's what you got to do. You got to do this." Da, 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 da. You know what I mean? And then I hung up the phone. I'm like, "It's not my problem." And I literally that's what I keep telling myself. I know it's a shitty thing to say, because it is my problem. I'm a board member. I'm an investor.
Sure,
but it's the mantra that I tell myself to step away, because if I don't, then I'm going to start jumping in and calling the CEO and be like, "Hey, have you done this? Have you done that?" And it's not my role.
I mean, to I guess draw the parallel to the military days, like you are like the admiral now. Like you're back on.
Yeah, I'm back.
You're in the States. You know what I mean? Like, I know. And they're deployed and they're out there. Like,
and
you're not going. I'm on a plane now.
Yeah, But I mean, the best I could do is give them advice, right? Yeah, and obviously, I have self-equity in the business, and that matters. And so I want to see everyone succeed. I want to see the company succeed. Yeah. But at the same time, my frustrations, I'll keep within myself sometimes, Yeah. And so I think I'm handling that piece well. I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but I'm actually I got to tell you, I'm very excited about this new chapter. I call it Chapter 3. Yeah. Chapter 1 was the Navy, 2 was Tropic. Like, Chapter 3. And by the way, working with you guys, your brother, your dad, like these guys, like just
look, good people are good people.
Yeah, but I tell you, because I was going through a weird time trying to figure it out, and you guys have so much energy and positivity, and it's been very helpful. So.
Appreciate that very much. But there's no secret to your success. The obstacle is the way. So we always ask this question to every guest that comes on the show, because there's no way that you are who you are without finding your edge every day. Yeah. And now that you're in Chapter 3, how do you find your edge on a daily basis?
That's a great question. I've been trying to figure it out. So I started writing again. I'll journal on and off for years. And I found, just a few years ago, I found an old journal from when I joined the Navy. And I drew a triangle, right? So do you know the fire triangle?
I don't.
Do you remember from science class in high school? So
I don't.
Basically in order to have a fire, you need, spark, oxygen, heat, right? Yeah. And you take one of those away and there's no fire. The chemical reaction doesn't happen. So I drew, this is when I joined the Navy, I drew mind, body, spirit, right? And I revisited that many times over the years. So now I'm so used to having structure with Tropic. Like, I wake up in the morning, I know what I'm doing today, right? Now it's like, what am I going to do today, right? So, so I've come up with like a couple of ways to approach it. Yeah. And I said it earlier about trying to find something that creates value and has purpose. For me, it's my life I have to do something for my mind, whether it's learning, growing mentally. Yep. Body, obviously, I got to move every day. And then spirit. And spirit, some people look at that as like maybe religious or spiritual. For me, it's more of just connection, whether you connect with religion or God or something else, or you connect with other people, or you do something that you enjoy. Like, I love car racing, whatever. Yeah. Like something that I enjoy that feeds my spirit. And then, so I've gone through this like iteration of how do I incorporate this into every day? Yeah. And I've listened to a few, actually one of your podcasts too, where I forget the guest, but he mentioned the perfect day, right? What does my perfect day look like? Yep. And I love that concept. Yep. So I've written out the perfect day concept a few times, and I don't like having that much structure. Like, maybe today I don't want to do this. You know what I mean? Like, so I came up with like a 5-step checklist, and this is literally what I'm, Okay,
are you going to give us the 5 steps?
I'll give it to you.
All right, let's go.
So number one, it's the mind, obviously like learn something, right? So learn, move, connect, which is, like I said, connect, it could be
human, could be human to like, look, like I'm addicted to the game Hearts right now, like the card game Hearts. I love playing that game. Yeah. So like, it's connection for me.
It's connection for you. And like we were talking about earlier, like I play PUBG with my brother's kids, my brother, like to me,
it's connection.
To me, that's connection, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you got to learn, move, connect, reflect. What is the fifth one? The fourth one? Oh my God, I just drew a blank. Because this is literally
reflect. Yeah, sure. Yeah,
and at the end, you reflect.
So the fifth one is reflect. So
so Jesus, I just wrote this out.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love that we're masterminding this now on the show.
This is so funny because I came up with this yesterday. Yeah. I'm like thinking of like ways to incorporate this. So learn, move, connect, reflect. What was the fifth? Can you cut this, by the way?
Sure. I love the fact that we're not sure, though. But
I just literally told my brother about it this morning, too.
You know what? No, they're going to have to go look for it in the show notes.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to
Can you
legitimately
cut this? Because
No.
I can pull up my phone and pull out the fifth.
Well, don't cut it. Just pull it. Pull out your phone. Find it. Find your fifth.
This is great.
This is better. I'd much rather prefer it that way than have it
honestly,
be scripted and.
Yeah. I shut my phone off for you guys, actually.
Appreciate that. Yeah. Boundaries to your time.
No worries. Yeah. But anyways, like I was trying to come up with like a way to just.
So but you have your 5 buckets, which are your checklist, and then you just time block those for yourself every day?
Yeah. Or? Like I come up with 1 or 2 things I'm going to do for each one every day.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So for Learn this morning, I read a few pages of As a Man Thinketh.
Okay. I've not read it.
Yeah. And then the second one is I studied Italian because that's I used to speak Italian and I let it go for so long and I'm trying to get that back,
Yep.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I will tell you, this past Friday, I felt like I had very close to a perfect day because I took the day, right? Because my older son Kai was here with us. And so it was like his day, but I had an opportunity for our company come in where I could close a deal. And I was like, well, this is very important. It's a very big opportunity. And it's something that I'm not going to say like, oh, can we speak on Monday or Tuesday about I want to take it. But I knew we were going to be at the beach. And so like in a day, I woke up and worked out, right? I made breakfast for the boys. I then took my son to get haircuts and then went and got the car washed. And then, like connectivity for me is like a lot of those things. Yeah. But then we went to the beach. I closed the deal on the beach while I was throwing the football with him on the beach. Yeah. Then my dad and my brother came over and we had my favorite Greek food at our house and we listened to great music. And I was like, this is everything. Yeah. Like it's not work-life balance. It's like I just did all the things I love to do in the same day.
Right? And I love what you just said. By the way, I can't believe I just forgot it. This one's create. Because that's what we're doing right now.
Sure.
Right?
So bingo.
For me, create this morning, I was creating, I was working on the ad for my brother's company, and then this afternoon I was going to be with you guys creating content. And I was like, okay, so
boom.
If you love
so you have your 5 buckets, you look for 2 things in every bucket, and then you calendar
and then that
for
to me is a perfect day. And I love what you just said about balance. So for so long, we try to find balance in life. And if you look at balance as like a scale, so if you're doing more of this, you're doing less of this, right? I mean, that's the whole point, right? You can't do it all. Right. And the idea of the triangle that I wrote years ago, I called it the harmony triangle because it's not about balancing. It's about everything working together in harmony.
Having all 3.
Having all 3 work together, right? To the point that you're on the beach throwing the football, closing a deal. Right. That's harmony, man. You're not giving up, right? You're not doing less or more.
Right.
You're
just doing.
Just doing.
Yeah.
And that to me is, in my opinion, perfect day.
There you go. That's how you find your edge. Yeah. Is you have those 5. So number 1, thank you for joining the show. Yeah. It's a wonderful conversation. Thank you for joining the show with us. Make sure you share in the comments what your harmony is, what your 5 things are. And to take us home, will you look directly into that camera and say, let's find our edge?
Let's find our edge.
Let's go. Thank you.
Let's go.